go ahead and get started. First off, I would like to kick off a question for the group, and then if you guys want, you can put it in the chat or you can share out for yourselves. But um, first, icebreaker question I wanted to ask is, what do you guys feel in the social media age is effective communication when it comes to leadership? And anybody can go off of mute and share. It's just to get the conversation started for us a little bit. We have any volunteers? I see we got everyone being shy, so it's okay. It's okay. I'm gonna just go ahead and get it started for you guys. And then if you guys do have anything that you guys want to share, just let me know. And then we will go ahead and let you guys share what you guys think as far as what's effective communication in leadership for us moving forward. Um, so today I am going to be presenting to you guys. Sorry for not being on camera, but I plan on doing that here shortly for you guys. But I just finished a job site, but I did want to get it started because we're about being on time, and corporate timing is something that Jewel has kind of pushed to the corporate leaders. So today my topic is going to be how powerful knowledge is and how we can use knowledge to pretty much further our professional development. And what I mean by further our professional development and how to use knowledge is, in my way, is obviously we had a brother that was talking about communication, and I'm glad that he was able to join. I think that was Christian. So brother Christian. So I was actually going to go over that today, and my topic is exactly on different ways of communication and how we can move forward as a community and improving our ways that we communicate, not only with each other, but also as we communicate in the corporate world. We all know that when you are in front of executives or when you are presenting yourself to somebody of higher ranking than yourselves within corporation, sometimes it comes with different lingo, and sometimes it comes with being able to communicate on their level. And in order for us to be able to do that effectively, even if we are not in that position, we have to expand our knowledge. We have to expand how we are inputting ourselves. And what I have found as I'm on my entrepreneurial journey is that imposter syndrome is real, but imposter syndrome also has gotten me to push myself in ways that I can't even imagine. So when I do find myself in rooms where people may be bigger than me, I find myself active listening, and paying attention to the ways that they talk amongst each other. I pay attention to communication and the ways that they are talking to their subordinates or people that might work for them. And what I do take from that is I take the good from it, and then I throw away the bad, because as I move forward in my journey and being a business owner and leading my business, I want to come in the best light, and I want my employees to want to come back to work for me. I want my employees to want to be excited when they wake up, or when it's a Sunday night and it's Monday morning and we have to come in. I don't want them to have to dread coming into work. I want them to feel like this is a place of solitude, and this is a place where they feel like their voices are heard. And I think that comes with, for sure, that comes with communication amongst each other. That comes with communication amongst executives, and being able to relay this information to the masses in an effective way. And so I am getting my PowerPoint up so that we can share and we can go over my PowerPoint. But while I'm pulling that up, did anybody else want to kind of jump in and give their view on how effective communication can play a part in leadership? Please don't be shy.
Hey, this is Dr. Pratt. I I think that the people I've been around that have had corporate leadership have definitely been effective communicators. That said, they've also been able to navigate a lot of pitfalls in the lingo. Actually, one person I'm thinking of specifically is John Graham. He has this conversation. He has a book called Plantation Theory. He's on LinkedIn, and and one of the workshops he does, it talks. I forget. I know he hired a sister who's a linguistic expert, and he talked with her about how we are colonized in a way that we don't come across the lingo. So even though you may be an effective communicator, at let's say a mid-sized company, when you get to corporate on a C-suite level, the communication is different and the lingo is different. And so I think one of the things I was going to suggest, if anybody's interested, he's always open to conversation, is to hit him up on LinkedIn. And if you're, going to that space and you feel like, hey, maybe I can, improve my communication skills, or looking to have a conversation with John. He has a lot of experience in that area. He's a he's a vice president himself. He worked for a larger company before this company. So this company, he's a big fish, small company. The other company, he was a decent sized fish at a large company. And I think that what he has to say about the corporate plantation and the concept is really important, especially for Black men to navigate. I think Black women have a different challenge. So John Graham is his name. He's on LinkedIn. You can tell him Martin sent you. And that was what I wanted to share.
Thank you, Brother Martin. Anyone else like to share their opinions or views on the subject of effective communication in the corporate?
Hey y'all, this is Stan. Maybe I'll just share just one thing. So I'm in the middle of a transformation right now with an organization, and one of the things that I keep kind of driving the leadership to do, and we've kind of sort of driven them to follow through with this, is um, going into the transformation. Obviously, there's a lot of communication that has to happen from the leaders to try to get folks to change behavior, change mindsets, change processes, right? And the one thing that we've been impressing upon them is you have to show and demonstrate, not just show, but demonstrate to your workforce that you actually care about them. And the question came back to me as, well, like, what does that mean, right? And I said, right now, could you produce for me in a day a comprehensive report of the interests, passions, sort of aspirations of your people? They couldn't do it. So we set a process in place to kind of gather that context. And once we captured the aspirations, passions, sort of dreams of folks, and we have a very particular way of doing that, then we found a way to kind of create the relationship between the individual's passions, aspirations, dreams, goals, etc., for career transformation, personal transformation, etc. We found the overlaps with the transformation program itself. Only then did we kick off this transformation with a high degree of traction. Why? Because the individual folks could see within the transformation program their own passions, aspirations, and goals, right? So I say all that to say, from a leadership and communication standpoint, at the end of the day, um, doesn't matter how eloquent you are, how much sort of power you have, you've got two choices, right? To operate from the position of inspiring people, or you try to get folks to comply. Compliance is a very short-term kind of solve. It just is not sustainable. What's much more sustainable is that inspirational piece. And just kind of taking a step back and just reflecting on the question, at the end of the day, do the individuals that you're speaking to, do they feel that level of connection, right? If you think of all the sort of massively popular folks that do a lot of speaking, like the Tony Robbins, et cetera, it just boils down to that individual being able to kind of either mimic or get down to a level of making you feel like they're speaking to you specifically, right? So at the end of the day, when I kind of take a step back and think about that whole communications piece, the practice that we've implemented within my firm is when we're undergoing a major transformation, we deploy a assessment that gets us insight on the, again, aspirations, goals, personality attributes, et cetera, of the individual folks within the organization. And we leverage that insight, that data, to make it clear on where their overlaps are with personal aspirations and the transformation program versus where the big distinctions are, right? Because with that clarity, communication becomes a lot more personalized and very specific to the individual folks that you're asking to basically do something, right? That's what leadership is about, is getting folks to move and do something, change a behavior, change. And that's hard. And folks don't want to do it, right? So anyways, that I just wanted to just kind of make that sort of call out and just encourage all of us to always be thinking about, did I penetrate through to the individuals that I want to lead through a change? Do I know them? Right. So I'll pause there for a bit.
No, thank you, Stan. I really appreciate that presentation. Those were very good points, and those points are actually some of the things that I'm going to be going over in this PowerPoint. So we're going to go ahead and get started so that we can get through this whole thing. So first of all, we all know that knowledge is power. And as we go into whichever realm that we are trying to go into in our entrepreneurial journey, executive journeys, the more knowledge that you have, the more power you're able to attain, as well as I want to say disseminate. So for today, we went through over introductions. First and foremost, my name is Elliot Bailey. I am the owner of a City and Gold Limited. I'm out of Fresno, California, and what we do at my company is we are a construction company who utilizes hemp construction materials to build homes within a factory setting. And we're just getting started. We're in the beginning stages of development, but our main mission is to pretty much change the dynamic of the construction world and how we're building, so that we can have a more sustainable future for not only ourselves, but the generations to come after us. And so for our agenda today is, the first thing is going to be, we're going to be go over how we build confidence amongst moving forward in our executive roles. And then we're going to also hit on engaging with your audience. And this is more so when we have maybe a speaker panel, or you're speaking in front of somebody. We're going to go over how you are able to engage your audience and get them to not only understand what you are trying to give information, not only to understand that, but also to get them interested in what you are talking about. And then the last thing we're going to go over is words, how words are key. I don't know if you guys have you guys have been in our group long enough. You see that we have word of the day, and that's one of the things that I know is a way to leverage your position, is being able to use words like Dr. Martin was saying, to be able to understand the lingo, to understand when they do give you a word, or to understand that and be able to use that to the best of your capability. So moving forward, we're going to go, everybody can see my screen correctly?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. So the power of communication. So first, we're going to talk about oral communication. There's various forms of communication. The first one that we're going to go over is oral. So how do we overcome our nervousness when we are having to do a presentation, when we're having to talk in front of an audience? How do we overcome that nervousness? So in LinkedIn, I have been able to actually get heavily involved in something that kind of like audio series. I guess that's what they call them, audio series. And a lot of those audio series I've just set in and being able to uh, to kind of listen in, and they go over a lot of things. One I just listened to today was how to pretty much speak effectively into executive positions. And one thing that they wanted to, the one thing that they went over, and it really stuck with me, is understanding what you bring to the table. I think that if you understand what you bring to the table, you're able to walk around with a level of confidence that nobody can take from you. And what stuck with me when they were talking about this conversation is they said that um, you're you're more than your resume. And that couldn't have stuck with me more. Is that a lot of people get so excuse my language, but they get so hell bent on what's on my resume, what I'm able to portray in this resume. And so we as I think as a community have to understand that there's value in a resume, yes, but there's also value in what you bring to that table. And when you're able to portray that information orally, then that gives you an edge of overcoming when you are having to speak in front of somebody, when you're having to portray your message on especially your business model. And that having that confidence, it allows you that before you go on stage or before you talk in front of a hundred people or even 50, or even less than that, you're able to calm your nerves because you understand that I'm coming with who I am, and nobody else can present that because nobody else is me in that aspect. Which then also leads into what we're going to get into is how you engage with your audience. So first and foremost, the first thing is, you guys want to make sure you make eye contact. Making eye contact is crucial. Even if it's even for a few seconds. I was in the military, and so we were taught to do the 1,000-yard stare. And even with the 1,000-yard stare, oh, excuse me, I'm scrolling too much. Even with the 1,000-yard stare, when you're staring out into the audience, that gives you a focal point, but it also gives you an overview of observing your audience and seeing not only their reaction and how they're reacting to what you're talking about, but that gives you an opportunity to make eye contact with maybe a familiar face or somebody that you may have talked to earlier in the day before you even stepped on stage. And that will then allow you to overcome your nervousness because it's somebody that's familiar. It's somebody that know that it's not a complete stranger. um the second thing is that like Brother Stan was hitting on is I found I have found that when you're able to make your topic relatable, and that is make it into a story, you are able to engage your audience way more. And so for myself, when I was thinking about I have a speaking engagement coming up, and when I'm thinking about how am I going to engage the audience, what am I going to say, how do I feel like this is going to go, a lot of the times it's just a simple story of how I got to become an entrepreneur, how I got to maybe some of the struggles and the trials and tribulations that might have went through, because 9 times out of 10 there's going to be somebody out there that can relate to your story, they can relate to your struggles, they can relate to anything that a lot of the times, because we're all going through some of the same things. Entrepreneurial journey is hard, yes, but a lot of the struggles that we go through is the same. And especially as a Black male, you face discrimination, you face doubt, you face the imposter syndrome. I found myself in rooms where I might be the only African American person there, and I'm like, well, do I really belong here? Is this a place but you have to overcome that because again, you come with something that the next person can't present because nobody else was giving your vision, nobody else was giving the way that you are supposed to bring this product or this business to light. So walk in that with confidence and find a way that you can relate that to your audience. And the second thing is encourage questions, encourage people to inquire, encourage people to feel comfortable with having to talk to you. And that could just be something like I did in the beginning, having a icebreaker question of asking the audience a question and then allow them to think a little bit and respond. And you can do this at any time of your presentation. Don't feel like it has to be in the morning. I mean, in the morning, it has to be in the beginning of your presentation. You can stop in the middle of your presentation, even at the end of the presentation, of leaving them with a tidbit of information, or, leading them with a question that they have to come back and maybe give you the answer for, because then that allows them to be like, you know what, I'm going to go talk to this person. I'm going to go inquire about what he meant about that question. And then the last one is sorry, I really can't see. Sorry, guys. Live polls. Yep. So live polls. This was more so with if you're doing like a live series or you're doing something that's virtual. Get the feedback. Get the feedback on what your audience thinking. And so for myself in the construction world, it's it's easy, not easier, but that's a way that I can understand what my clients need. I can understand what my audience might need from me, and then I'm able to take that away, take that with me, and then improve. I'm able to improve the next time I speak. I'm able to improve the next time I may be at an event or anything like that. I'm able to then give my clients or give my audience what they want. And that's the main thing that we're here. I think as business owners, we have to remember that as a business owner, you aren't here to please yourself. If you go into your business understanding that I'm here to provide a service to the world, then I think that you're going to be a lot more successful and with that mindset. So then we get into navigating panels. Everybody knows that this is a huge thing that's going on. Even Dr. Basically, I hope I'm saying that right. But he just sat on a board in Ireland, and so panel in Ireland, and so these are some of the ways that you can prepare for navigating a panel, and some of the ways that you can pretty much seem like you're a pro at it without even that's your first time. So know ahead of time what you're going to be talking about. And that could be just as simple as whoever invited you, just to shoot an email to them or have a conversation with them and really understand the topics that they're expecting you to give advice on or to portray. So having that understanding before you even step on the panel will give you some time to prepare and understand what you are able to bring to that table. Again, anticipate questions, anticipate the common questions that you have. So with my construction company, I get all the time, are you build a home with weed? And I say, no, it's not cannabis. It's the cousin of cannabis. But for me, that's a lead question into educating. That's a lead question into me allowing myself to engage my audience and let them understand that, well, it is in a you might understand it as cannabis, but hemp is a completely different plant than cannabis, and this is why. Or I usually hit them with the fact that, well, hemp is the cousin of cannabis, but did you know that it's a federal plant? I can federally ship and grow it anywhere in the world, and a lot of times people don't know that information. They don't know that tidbit, but that's for me to be able to give and prepare, provide to my audience, and then they're able to understand, or they're able to feel that, hey, he might really know what he's talking about. A lot of the times they might try to fact check you, or they might, see if you really know what you're talking about. But if you are true to your craft, even if they fact check you, they're gonna then say, oh, well, he was right. So that also goes into understanding the business that you're in and understanding everything that comes with that. And that's from the research and development, that comes from laws and policy, that comes from being able to understand the new and up and coming. And with that amount of knowledge and with that amount of information, when you sit on a panel, when you sit on a board or anything like that, it's easy to talk about. It's easy to answer common questions like that because you already have that repertoire in your bag. And so again, for the Q&A sessions, you just want to make sure you stay calm. Stay calm. Don't seem like you're nervous. And even if I like to do before I go on and talk, I will take a deep breath and put myself in that moment, even if that's for 10 to 15 seconds, put myself in that moment and let go of anything that might have been bothering me before that, and just understand that I'm here in this moment. Let me be here in that moment. And that will allow me to regroup myself and understand that I'm here to serve a purpose, and let me serve that purpose. And always we want to actively listen, because when you're actively listening to what's being asked or other people on the panel, you're able to piggyback off of that, or you're able to, I want to say, respond to something that someone else to someone else might have relayed, and then you're able to fit your vision and what you're doing into how it might tie into somebody else that's on the panel. And the last few things we want to go over is pause and reflect, like I was relaying earlier, and then make eye contact. So we're gonna go ahead and move to. Does anybody have any questions or comments before I go ahead and move on to the visual forms of communication that we can use? All right. So if we don't have any questions or comments, we're going to go ahead with visual. So visual ways of communication is now, it's in social media. It's a huge way to leverage yourself on any platform. And understanding this is one that I'm still trying to learn as well. But understanding how you fit in and how you're able to put some kind of visual content out is key. And so some of the few things that I've found that all right, Alex, thank you for joining. So some of the things that I found that is easy to understand how you can better your visual contact is, for me, I have listened to plenty of podcasts and web series. And so for me, podcasts is a way now that it's not only audio, but now they have visual podcasts. I was able to sit on one with Dr. Martin, and the visual podcast it gives you two things. It gives you a visual, which is allowing the audience to see how you respond to questions and understand how confident this person is and when talking. But also podcasts are also ways, if they're just the audio version, it's a way of just to gain information and knowledge about things that's going on around you, the way people are moving around you and moving around your business, and how that you can find a way to tie that into what you're doing in your everyday business efforts. And so podcast is a way for you to like I said on the like you guys can see, watch and gain insight and understand what's going on around you. It's a way to stay up to date on the latest policies, information, and events, and then it's able to expand your research and development. I listened to this podcast called Industrial Hemp, and that podcast teaches me so much. And it's just an audio one, but it teaches me so much about how I can implement ways into my business, as also policies, also things that's coming down the pipe, also projects that's happening within the not only the US but within the world. And so it allows me to get involved more into my community, and that's a way that you can leverage visual content. And web series is becoming a huge thing now, and so web series are a way for you to it's a way for you to educate people on how what you're doing, I should say. And so why not, I think I'm a very visual learner. I learn very well visualizing things. I learn by touching, which is why I'm in construction. And not many people do learn that way, which I like about podcasts, which audio version. But if you are able to do a web series to where you're showing how you might work on, like how everyday things work in your company. A lot of people might respect you a little bit more because you're able to pull back the wool. You're able to pull back the curtains and say, hey, we have nothing to hide here. Look, this is how we do everyday operations. This is how people interact within my companies. This is how people are able to feel, comfortable in giving you their money and investing in you, or wanting to come onto the team and be a part of your company. So I found that web series is a great way to know your audience as well as engage your audience in what you're doing every day. So the things that I found is effective delivery techniques in any form, even visual or oral, is you want to understand your pitch variations. When you're starting out, you don't want you want to gain some excitement, but you don't want to be yelling the whole time to where they're like, why is this guy yelling at me the whole time? So understand the different types of pitches that you have to portray and when you're talking, and even when you're doing visual web series or podcasts, if somebody says something exciting, show that excitement. Show that you do have emotion and you're not a robot. That's a way to engage and get the audience excited as well, because if they see you're excited, they're like, hold on, I'm supposed to be excited about this. What is so exciting about this? And then they listen and they understand. And so changing your pitch, changing your tone variations, that's a way to effectively deliver a speech, visually or orally. And then some last again, the last few things that you guys can see is how important eye contact is. Again, it's maintaining your good posture, and the last thing is making sure you control your expression. So if somebody says something that you might not fully agree with, don't be the one to roll your eyes or smack your lips. Allow people to express their opinion, but then come back with your response educated, come back professionally, and come back with facts. And when you're able to do that, then that's when the conversation is able to grow, and the audience is understanding that, well, he might not have agreed with what they said or their view on that point, but he also has some good points in how he feels about the situation or his viewpoints in it. So that's a key thing in controlling your expressions. And last thing we're going to hit is written communication. Written communication is one that I think we as a community need to understand and to grow on, because executive memos is definitely something that we need to understand lingo about. And I think that's what Dr. Martin was hitting on, was understanding the lingo. So when it comes to myself, it's understanding, I'm trying to understand grant writing. As I'm diving into understanding how to write and apply for grants, a lot of people are telling me, oh, well, the government wants you to write a certain way. They want it to be in a certain order. They want it to look a certain way. And I've come out of the military, so I'm understanding that that's how the military works and that's how the government, federal contracts work. But somebody that hasn't been or had that kind of exposure, you have to understand that you're probably getting a no, or you're probably not getting that opportunity because your written communication is not saying what they needed to say. And so, excuse me. And so that also falls hand into your resume and how your resume is written and how you're portraying your work experience and how it could then benefit the company that you might be applying for, or how it can then how it can help the boss that you're trying to help out, or how you're trying to, like the brother was he was saying, how could I, how could I come up and ask for a job? Obviously the first part of it is not to, go up to somebody and ask for a job. But if you're able to professionally write in your resume more than enough of how you can impact the job position and the company, then that is probably going to get you your foot in the door. That's probably going to get them to want to say, okay, let me see more about what this guy is talking about. And then then when you maybe have when you go into the conversation, a straight one-on-one conversation, then you're able to then back it up with the facts of black and white and say, oh yeah, I could send you my resume. So if you did go to the CEO and you did say, hey, I'm interested in a position that is within the company, what better way, how can I make myself a value, or how can I bring value to that position? Pick their ear for advice before you are asking for something, is what I would say. So if you ask for the advice of that, then I feel like you will go a longer way. And then you're able to take that advice to heed and then apply it. And then when they see that you're the person that's in front of them, they're gonna be like, "Oh, you are that person that asked me for advice," and you're gonna get even more, I should say, brownie points, or you're gonna get more even recognition, because they understand that you gave them advice, and then not only did they just throw it to the wayside, but they applied that advice and they made it work for them in the best light that they could possibly do. And so we're gonna just end with some final tips and takeaways for everyone. As you guys can see on here, is consistent. So if you're going to be presenting orally, oral presentation, or sitting on a panel, the first thing you want to do is be consistent. Be consistent in your rehearsal. Be consistent in how you're practicing. Practice makes perfect, they usually say, and anybody that has been in sports. So the more you practice, the more you rehearse, no matter on who it is. It can be on a dog, it can be on your kids that don't even understand what you're talking about. The more that you're able to just rehearse and get comfortable with some of the ideas you might want to portray, some of the things you might want to say, then when you are on that stage, or when you are on that panel, or when you are on the podcast, or whichever web series, then you're able to feel more at ease in that role, and then you're able to kill it. Next thing I wanted to make sure you guys understand is refine your delivery style. It's okay to change things up. It's okay to understand that some things need a different, in your environment. You might need to be a little bit at a different pace. On construction site, if I'm showing an example of how to build hem blocks, it's okay, that, I'm excited. I'm energetic, and I'm expressing this because I want everybody to be excited about what I'm doing in the forefront, and I want them to pay attention, that to not only the excitement of the material, but I want them excited of the product, and what's happening like that. But if you're in a sitting setting, then it's all you have to understand when the timing is right, being that, showing that excitement and emphasis on things. Timing is everything. Time is everything, I think, for whatever you are trying to do. And I think, even as we found ourselves in this group of the Black Executive Men's Group, timing is everything. I don't think, everybody keeps saying this group couldn't have came at a better time. And what better way to try to get a group of Black executive men together? Why didn't it happen 10 years ago? Why didn't it happen? But it's because it wasn't ready. Jewel wasn't ready to push it through, and maybe us as a community wasn't ready to take on the responsibilities of what's needed to push it forward. So, if you're in a role, take that position and blow it out of the water. Or if you are trying to, get your message out by sitting on a board or doing a podcast, take that moment and make sure you make the best of that moment, because you might not get another moment, and at least that it's set in stone, and somebody can see it maybe in a year or two and be like, "Hey, I seen you on a podcast," or "I remember seeing you on a podcast and I liked your energy," or "I like what you were talking about." And you never know how that comes back around, and it's able to help you in the long run. Always seek feedback, because constructive criticism is a way that we improve not only our products and our businesses, but it's a way we improve ourselves. Feedback isn't a bad thing. So, always use it and run with it, and find a way to help it and improve what you're trying to bring to the world. The last few things is, we always reflect on your performances, review and reflect, and like I say, improve. Know that no one is perfect. If you mess up, it's okay. When I was doing my first pitch competition, I was so nervous about messing up, or if I was going to lose my spot in what I was preparing. And once I got to that stage and I understand, I did well on my pitch, but when I sat down, I was like, "Oh, I didn't even say that," or I missed that part of it. But no one could tell, because not only did I not mess up, but from the practicing, from the rehearsal, from the knowledge and the research and development of what I was trying to portray, the message was given, and everyone in that room understood what my business was doing moving forward, and that was a win for me. And then set personal goals. I can't say it enough. Goals are important in not only for your personal but for your business. So make sure that you set those goals. So if you haven't been on a panel, or if you haven't had a speaking engagement, or you haven't improved your resume, set a goal to do so. I know as far as the business owners, to do a SWOT plan. And you're supposed to do a SWOT plan. It's advised to do your SWOT plan quarterly. And when you do a SWOT plan quarterly, that gives you the time to not only set goals for your company and yourself, but that gives you a still shot, and it gives you time to understand where you need to move forward with. Thank you, Stan. But it gives you a understanding of what you need to do to move forward in your business and how to prepare yourself. Because I'm not fully into my business right now, so meaning I have another job. But when I do my SWOT plan, it allows me to understand the next steps I need to do to make that my full-time job, because that eventually that's where I want to be. I want to be working in construction. I want to be doing jobs every day. And so, SWOT plans is like, okay, how do I get to that? How do I get to that goal? How do I have to, what do I have to do? What things do I have to move? What's the next step? Is it getting a bank account? Is it getting an EIN? Is it even registering my company? Is it maybe looking for help? So that gives you something to work on. You're like, okay, the next 4 months, I have to work on these things. And I don't know how I'm going to get it around, but now I have a goal set and I have it written down to where that's where I'm moving and that's what I'm going to be doing. And last thing that we do great is we adapt and overcome, and iterate and overcome is what I have on there. But we are, as a community, we adapt and overcome. And I don't think any community has adapt and overcome as well as we have. And so even if you feel like, man, I don't know how I'm gonna get this done, or man, I don't know if I'm able or I'm possible, keep your head up, keep pushing, because at the end of the day, like I can't stress enough, nobody else was given the vision that you have. Nobody else has the gifts that you have. So use those gifts, use that vision, and keep pushing forward, because at the end of the day, we all gonna make it to the top, and that's our goal. And if that's your goal, to make it in the top, then nothing's gonna stand in your way from doing that. So be confident in that and always move forward in the best confidence and light. And so that's going to wrap it up for me as far as my presentation. I did want to open it up to the floor if anybody had any comments, questions, or concern about what was said today.
Hey, good afternoon. This was a very enriching, timely conversation. A lot of the content was spot on. As someone who is constantly working towards being eloquent and being a strategic communicator and being mindful of how I show up in, in, in different spaces. I'm real. I have some content that. Well, first of all, my one one area that I have that I'm working on is, or kind of grappling with, is clarity. So we all process information differently. We obviously all use different words to attempt to convey what we want to say, and more often than not, what we are attempting to convey might not land in the ways in which we want it to land. And so for me, emotionally, that um, I'm I'm getting better at managing my emotions around the fact that if I say something in a certain way or use certain language, part of it is being aware of the fact that, um, how 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 does this land? How and because part of it is one can get triggered if you think that you're clear, but but your listener or your audience isn't quite clear, or you can tell that they're not clear. And so that can kind of trigger you because in your mind, or the ways in which you are trying to communicate your message, it can land a certain way. And so I guess my first quick question for you and the brothers present is sharing more about the ways in which you try to navigate um, that part. And I know that you touched on breath work and like, just, trying to prep for things. And I think that that is absolutely important. The more that you prep, the more confidence you have. And so just would love to hear that. And then secondly, just quickly, um, I'm in a coaching group, and where we are is talking about 4 types of comprehension styles. The first type is verbal processing, meaning that some of us, the way that we process information is to literally just talk it out, and talking it out to get clear. And then you have the narrative learners who understand content that's framed in the context of stories, or narratives. And then you have the the auditory sequential learners who um, appreciate a logical step-by-step approach to understanding information. And then you have the auditory um, reflective learners who prefer to process information internally before responding. For me, I'm a mixture of all 4, and I know that typically it's helpful to, as you're prepping for your audience, to consider those 4 types of comprehension styles as you're preparing to, give a talk. So just want to kind of share that information and get your thoughts and feedback.
Yeah, I appreciate that question. I mean, what I would say is, so the first part I would say is be your authentic self. It's, like I was saying, nobody is going to be able to um imitate you. So if somebody asks a question and the first thing is to say an African proverb or something like that, say the African proverb, but then explain it. Say, when you asked me that question, this popped into my head, and then this is why. Because then that makes you human. That makes you human, and then that brings in like the value that you have still in touch with, your African roots, or something that somebody else in the audience is, then can connect with. And so what I'm learning also as I'm stepping into my entrepreneurial journey is that as a business owner, you have to reach all of those different learners. So you might be 4, but there might be somebody that's only 1. There might be someone that's only 2. So it's like you have to go out and do the panels and podcasts, because somebody is probably only going to come and watch you at a panel. You have to go out and do some videos or some kind of context, because somebody is only going to want to sit at their computer and watch you in that way. And so being multifaceted in that way gives you a competitive edge, because if somebody is only doing panels, like you'd be like, oh, I don't really go to panels, or I don't really follow that. I like being at home, and so having that diversity is going to be, is going to, I think, allow you to stand out from somebody else that might be in the same competition, or in the same industry as you. So be authentically yourself, but do that in the most professional way. So if somebody asks you a question and a story comes to mind, share that story. Share that viewpoint, and then say and find a way to bring it back to your company, or find a way to bring it back to the series that you guys are talking about. Because like I have grown to understand that people relate to stories. They relate to people, someone that's human and not just a robot. As much as we like AI to do so much stuff for us, that's what we're looking for in this world, is somebody that's authentic. You don't want anybody that's fake. You're like, yeah, but you gave me the same answer he gave me. Like that's the textbook answer. I want to know how you feel. I want to know your opinion on it. And so if you're able to take that and run with it, do it. Because I don't, it's like, for you, if you came to me and you said, that reminded me of African proverb. That African proverb might stick with me because I'm all like, I don't know what he said, but the reason why he said that related to him, that is why I understand it, because I've felt like that. I have, been in that same predicament and things like that. So if that would be my advice in to you, is to be your authentic self, but also to everyone else in your entrepreneur journey, you have to find a way to tap into all these different ways that people do learn and do listen. Because if you don't, then you're missing out on a piece of an audience that needs your help. They need to listen and understand what you're trying to say. And I know with you, doctor, you're really huge on mental health. And so that's something that everybody needs. Everybody needs to know more on how to improve their mental health. But then your obstacle is how I got to disseminate this information in all these different ways, and it's not necessarily like you got to go out and do a podcast. You can, but sit on a podcast, or start a mini they on LinkedIn you can do a mini live series that you can do one and you sit it for an hour. You'd be surprised. I sit in these mini live series and there's 50 to 25 people just sitting there listening to you and this other person talk, and and they don't really need no interaction. They just want to listen. And I've learned a lot of stuff just by sitting there listening. Put my headphones in and I just go, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. And then you're able to make connections that way. So that's what I would say is, find a way that you can tap into all those different ways that people are able to learn, but make it about what you're trying to portray to the world.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. That's definitely the direction that I'm going in. And I've been on podcasts and, conferences, panels and whatnot. So this is really timely. I just can't thank the BEM community enough for holding space for these very, very important conversations. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Anyone else have any Dr.
I think you're on mute, Elliot.
Oh, can you guys hear me? All right. So I just wanted to say thank you. But I appreciate you guys coming out and tune in next week. Dr. Inya is actually going to be talking to us next, or not Dr. Inya. Dr. Basie is going to be talking to us next week about a little bit more on ways that we can really leverage knowledge to further our development. And as you guys see, he was on a speaker series, so he's going to be able to bring some different insight than myself because I'm more of a noob, but he's been in the business a little bit longer. So if you guys have time next week, please stop by, even if it is for 5 or 10 minutes, just to hear what he has to say, because he's been in the business and he has a successful, I want to say shipping company or something of that sort. But he's going to be a great conversation to have. So again, tune in if you guys have the time next week, and I appreciate you guys taking the time this week. And until next time, guys, have a great one.